Life over coffee. Conversations for transformation.
Most relationships begin with transparency, honesty, courage, and optimism. At some point, these things begin to break down. If you've been married for a long time, you probably have had this experience. You kind of lost a little transparency, maybe honesty is waning some, courage is lacking a bit, and we're not as optimistic as we used to be. The husband and wife can drift from each other and then silence begins to ensue. Even the best intentions derail if the couple does not know how to keep the transforming power of the gospel as the animating center of their relationship. Let me explain. This is how it goes. Boy meets girl. They begin to like each other. They soon figure out ways to spend time together. When they are not spending time together, they are strategizing how to spend time together. They become an item, a thing. They feel destiny in play. If the lovebirds are Christians, their thoughts are about sovereignty and providence. God is in this. It takes little effort to convince them how the good Lord meant them for each other. If they date for a year or less, there will probably be no major disagreements. If they date for a year or more, there might be a few ups and downs, but they will persevere through the rough spots. Any thoughts of not getting married quickly evaporate. God forbid. A bird in the hand is better than whatever may be in the bushes. To start looking for another mate is harder than making a go with the one they have. They marry. From the time they met until their wedding day, they have become closer and closer and closer, incrementally advancing in their call to become one flesh. Each day reveals more about the other person, and what they learned about each other makes them mutually irresistible. This kind of bliss is how things ought to be, and I'm sure it was exactly that way for you if you're married. A one-flesh relationship is a never-ending journey. One-fleshness is a process of ever-increasing awareness and acceptance until death severs the love bond of the lovebirds. Dating is what makes dating so exciting. It's the beginning of a unique relational adventure. Marriage enhances the journey as more of the mystery about the other person is made clear. Marriage is like walking into a garden maze full of beautiful flowers. Each turn reveals another variety, another aspect of the other person. The hidden becomes exposed. Even disappointment does not last long because the aroma of repentance gives them another chance that leads to more adventure and enchantment. Paul elevated this kind of Christ imagery in Ephesians 5:25 through 33, where he talked about the husband being a picture of Christ and the wife being a picture of the church. It's a high call with a great reward for any man or woman who wants a Christian marriage. And then there is sin. Even in the best marriage stories, there is a darker side. The progression toward each other that they began during the dating season hits a few craggy rocks. Disappointment and discouragement begin to capture their optimistic hearts for various reasons. The pursuit of symbiotic integration starts to lose speed. Instead of two people set on a course to incrementally engage and enjoy each other for the rest of their natural lives, they readjust, choosing to coexist rather than assimilate in this symbiotic relationship. It's the dual silo effect, twin towers standing side by side but never intersecting in a meaningful way. They become roommates or business partners. They coexist in parallel. Earlier in their relationship, they could hardly wait to find out about each other. They talked freely and listened attentively. Now the talking is selective and the listening happens when it's convenient. They are mostly silent partners. Their communication is no longer an adventure, but it is now arduous. They learn more about what is going on with each other when they are with their friends. The husband listens as his wife shares her life with her girlfriend. He vicariously catches up on the latest happenings because he knows once they return home, catching up on her day turns to radio silence. while the frustration that is between them continues to burn and churn. How did this happen? How could two people who could not keep their hands off each other grow to a place where they have a lukewarm business relationship? Unfortunately, few people go into a relationship with the gospel as the animating center of their lives. Without the gospel, no relationship can thrive or mature. People may coexist, but they will not grow in relational warmth. The force of the gospel is the working tandem of reconciliation and transformation. These things get lost in a deteriorating marriage. Christ came to die so we could be with Him forever. He entered our world and became like us. He lived a perfect life and gave Himself as a sacrifice for us. The Father accepted the work of the Son, which opened the door for reconciliation and transformation by Him. As Christ's followers, we can live out an echo of the gospel as we engage in our relationships. We can't die for other people. We can't save them, but we can die to ourselves with a hope that God will use selfless sacrifices to help others change. There is no relationship where it is more important to model this kind of gospel activity than in a marriage. Paul was not squeamish about this, nor did he hold back on how he thought about a man's responsibility in the marriage. Paul planted a man's marriage responsibilities right in the heart of the gospel in Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Christ-like is how husbands are supposed to behave toward their wives. There is no wiggle room here. The gospel is more than a calling. It is an explanation. It is a definition of how we are to engage our spouses. If a man marries a woman and does not have the gospels as the defining dynamic of his marriage, it will not be long before he spins out of his covenant, ready to give up on his promise and the mission. He may stay in the marriage, but his pursuit of his wife will diminish as the years drag on to some inevitable disappointing end. The vibrant life that was in the marriage will die, and the only thing that will sustain their union will be their mutual, agreed upon responsibilities. That is a business relationship. The problem here, they have no sin plan. They have no activated plan to deal with sin. Without the gospel as the redemptive agent within a marriage, there is no possibility to fend off the encroachments of sin. We have a gospel because there is sin. Without sin, there would be no need for a gospel, the gospel. The conclusion is inevitable. A weakened gospel allows sin to breach the banks of marriage until the couple succumbs to its manipulations. The first sign of sin's advancement will happen within the first few years of marriage. As an in-love dating couple, they could not get enough of each other. As a mundane married couple, they will learn the rest of the story, the sinful side of their lives. And it happens in the mundane, not in the celebration of the dating relationship, where it's activity upon activity. It's enthusiasm and optimism uninterrupted. But the mundaneness of marriage will reveal the fullness of the person that you married. With a weakened gospel and no biblical plan to respond to the problems in their marriage, the partners become sitting ducks. Every sin, whether small or large, slows their one flesh momentum toward each other until they finally decide it's easier to coexist and to work through what is wrong. This fake it until you make it worldview begins to shape their thoughts about marriage. It becomes the new standard. Silence sets in and takes over their lives. At first, it becomes small pockets of silence between them. With the angry couple left to themselves, these little pockets react like cancer does to the body. When the cancerous sin entered their marriage, they did not know how to take care of it. They had no sin plan to take care of it, and like a stain on a carpet, they left it alone. After a while, there were more stains. They never perceived how such a small thing could metastasize into such a disease. The most common scenario in which this happens is an angry husband. Few things will cause a wife to shut up and shut down like an angry man. The angry man is especially shocking if the new wife has not seen this darker side of her new husband. Even if she has seen it before, there is a monumental difference between dating an angry, harsh, or unkind man and marrying one. Two sinners in a box where you cannot get out. This scenario was Mabel's initial surprise after she married Biff. Within the first 6 months of their marriage, Biff caught her off guard several times with his anger. Mabel was a quick study. She learned when she should and when she should not approach Biff. Mabel learned to be silent. She learned not to speak her whole mind. Her quietness, albeit not her fault, was when the cancer in the marriage was activated. She used to be 100% involved in their mutually agreed upon reciprocal communication. After the first 6 months of marriage, she recoiled to about 98%. Biff never discerned the subtle change because the slow incrementalization of silence was imperceptible. He was shocked beyond belief when she left him after 32 years of marriage. Only then did she give him a piece of her, not a piece, only then did she give him her full mind. Mabel was finally free to be Mabel. After she had done her tour of duty with the children, she believed she deserved a break from her controlling and angry husband. Though she was not justified to leave him, she did it anyway. She was done. It was finished. Even Christian husbands are notorious for shutting down their wives while never perceiving they're doing it. They can be too dense, too stubborn, too righteous to see or admit the adverse effect they have on their wives. It takes a lot of grace and humility for a man to take the lead by owning his role in the deterioration of his marriage. I've had wives come to counseling for the primary purpose of saying to their husbands what they were afraid to say to their husbands at home. I've had scores of men tell me things they did not know about their wives until it was too late. She left, and after she was away from him, she began saying things she held in for years. Is there a cure for this? If this is your marriage, I appeal to you. It will take more humility and courage than you have probably ever needed to change the course of your marriage. If you are willing to ask the Father for this kind of grace, you can begin by laying the groundwork that could release your wife to be honest and transparent with you. It may take months for your wife to gain the courage to trust you, especially if you have used anger to keep her shut down and controlled as a manipulative tactic to manage her. If you offer genuine repentance to God and to her, she probably will come out from hiding. She probably will not come out from hiding until she knows it's safe to do so, as evidenced by your practical and measurable transformation through repentance. If you are seeking this kind of corrective care in your marriage, then you will need help. The hurts can be too deep and the memories are too fresh. You cannot know what you cannot know, and another set of eyes could serve you well. In addition to finding qualified help, you need to create an environment of grace for your wife to speak freely. When Lucia and I began making this kind of course correction in our marriage, I asked her if she would do one thing. Quote, "Honey, if you knew you could say anything in the world to me and I would not respond in anger or with defensiveness or any other way that would shut you down, what would you like to say to me?" Now, of course, this has to be proven. Over the months, Lucia began to be more honest with me. She was initially timid because I had tempted her to fear. As she began trusting God and as I appropriated His grace into my life, she began to share things that she would only share with the Lord. In time, we renewed the adventure we began the first time we met. We chose to fall in love again. Rather than choosing the parallel paths of consenting roommates, we changed our marriage pathway. We were back on course, incrementally, assimilating into each other. Let me wrap up here by asking a few questions. If you want to read this at lifeovercoffee.com, you can find it. The title is, Do You Know What Your Wife Is Thinking? Question number 1, do you know what your wife is thinking? Please explain. Number 2, are there pockets of silence in your relationship? If so, how did you get to this place? Number 3, wife, are you motivating your husband to be open? Are you creating a context of grace for him to be free to speak with you? If not, what needs to change to be that person to him? Number 4, how vulnerable and transparent are you with each other? If you're not, why not? And then number 5, if you're willing to work on a course correction, I appeal to you to reach out to your church's leadership. Let them inside your marriage. Do not put off getting help today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Learn more and get access to other resources at lifeovercoffee.com.